guys, I'm Fowler. Welcome to yet another weekly live stream for music production feedback and the sorts. This is where we hang out in the studio, take a listen to what everybody's been working on this week, and offer some suggestions and feedback. If you want to take part in future streams, head over to my Discord server, discord.gg/FowlerMusic. There's links everywhere, and the instructions are in there. So go ahead and head over there and to take part. Before we hop in, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Mishimoto, for sending me this beautiful oil filter sandwich plate after I paid full price for it on Amazon. It's going to look really nice on the Pulsar and hopefully lower my oil temp. So thank you, Mishimoto, for selling me that at full price. Okay, let's hop over to FL Studio and see what you guys have been working on this week. We got some submissions this week. Okay. I see April 1st in the, oh my God, it's April 1st. I wonder how many April 1st submissions we're going to have this week. Rayhem, Clarity Remix Idea, April 1st. If our love is tragedy, why are you my remedy? If our love is insanity, why are you my clarity? Why are you my clarity? Okay, I'm a fan of where this is going. I like the drums sound incomplete. I don't know. It says April 1st. I'm so paranoid that there's going to be April 1st jokes in here. This doesn't sound like a joke. It sounds like a cool remix. The drums, there's not much drums. Like I'm hearing the transients and the punch of the kick and the snare, but there's no like hi-hats or stuff. The synths sound really good and they're really thick and girthy, but like why are you my clarity? I don't know, I feel like there are cymbals in there somewhere, but they're just being totally buried by the synths. So this is a cool start. I think that the drums need to be hyped up, and I can't really hear the snare. Sounds super compressed or something. Like I hear like the snap and it quickly disappears underneath. The synths are super cool. I love them. If our love is tragedy, why are you my remedy? If our love is... I don't love the kick. It seems like it's too long or something. Like I can hear it interfering with the bass. Yeah, get some top drums on, get some percussion and hi-hats and make the top end more exciting. That's really all this needs, and then obviously turn it into a full-length effort. Because it's a little short, and I don't really know what's going on here. Then I'll fall right back to you. Like, if this was a joke, it's good. It's not even funny, it's just good. So, well done. Add some top drums, keep going. All right, that was a quick one. Moving on. Vindictive Vengeance.
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Okay, the timing is off. I'm going to turn these speakers down. They're loud. The timing is off. We have... And then the drums are not on beat. So maybe see what tempo that the piano thing is doing and try to match that. The snares are very loud. They legitimately scared me when they happened. I like the vibe of the track. I like the darkness of it. This fight scene is very intense. There are some wet impacts in there, so okay, that's interesting. See, like it's very roughly mixed. I think I'd be able to forgive that because of the style and the darkness, but the timing is throwing me off. I don't know if you're trying to do like a cool like a polyrhythmic thing or something, but the timing just isn't. I just can't get behind it.
I'm vengeance.
Yeah. I think you need to go back and evaluate the tempo of the dun 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 dun, like the piano thing, and make sure that your drums are going at the same BPM, because it's thrown me off a bit. The mood is cool. It's very dark. It's just the tempo, the clashing is not doing it for me. So maybe take a look into that. Okay, moving on. We are plowing through them today. All right, Westbrook, Bounce.
Energy like you all of that, yeah. Big bounce, bounce on up, bounce energy like you all of that, bounce energy like you all of that, yeah.
Okay, so far this is dope. Okay, a couple things. I think you're missing an opportunity when the and you have the reverb. I would almost like try to get that reverb really almost distorted or OTT'd and then cut it hard or something. Like I feel like after the bass is done doing this little dingle dangle downwards, I can hear the reverb, but it just kind of sounds incidental. Like I think that you need to oh my god, wait. I'm talking into the wrong side of the mic. I'm so sorry. I hope this is better sounding now. Anyway, yeah, I think that reverb could come up, like almost like send the track and the reverb into a compressor, so that when the bass is loud, the compressor's ducking it down, and then when the bass goes away, the compressor opens up and you get that reverb in our face for a second. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd almost also see what it sounded like if you put an octave down on the... Yeah, on those ones. Let's try that. So...
Yeah, yeah. Bounce energy like you all of that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think you should have a sub bass going during the like you have the thickness of the call bass, but the response bass doesn't have that sub bass to it. And in some ways that's cool, but I feel like that's about 50% of the drop. So 50% of the drop doesn't have sub bass to it. And maybe that's like a common drum and bass technique. I don't know. I would probably put a sub bass there.
Bounce energy like you all of that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would put a sub bass there. That's just me. Okay, let's talk about the drums.
Energy like you all of that. Energy like.
I would de-ess these vocals or send it through a multi-band compressor because those like that sound is very in our face and a little bit abrasive. So maybe control the frequency range a little bit better on the vocals to stop that from being so pokey.
G like you all of that. Yeah.
I kind of want to say that I know the snare, it's not really like that, like the drum and bass snare. It's like the dubstep snare, but it still could be a little more impactful, I think. Let's try just real quick. Like, yeah, I'm not saying to make it that typical drum and bass snare, but like, let's see, turn that up a bit. Something a little closer to that, maybe. I don't know. That's kind of personal taste. The drums don't sound bad. I personally would just have a snare that hits a little bit harder than that. It's a super cool track, though. Yeah, I think if you put that sub bass in, it's gonna overall be better. Shit, I'm not on my sub bass anymore. There we go.
Bounce energy like you all of that. Bounce energy like you all of.
I think it could use some more effects too, like risers and different stuff like that, just to kind of build some anticipation. I feel like the parts, they're pretty hype, but I don't feel like I'm hyped up for them when they happen as much as I think I should be. Yeah, like just some reverse cymbals, just simple stuff. It doesn't have to be crazy intense cymatics, this or whatever, but... Also, I think you might be doing that a bit too much. That's always a bold move. When you do that in a track, that's a bold move because that could be the time that somebody skips to the next song. They're like, okay, all right, next song. I'm not saying it doesn't have its uses, but to do it 4 times in one track might be pushing your luck a little bit in terms of people's, you know, their brain things, attention span. Thank you. I don't know who I'm thanking. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Add sub bass. Try a bit punchier of a snare. See if that does anything, and embellish with sound effects. Just swooshes, reverses. Get us more hyped for the stuff that's happening. Cause yeah, there's some snare rollage happening here. But it's like the drop is so sick, and that build did not do it justice. Work on your builds, effects, sub bass that other bass, and bass. Good job. That was awesome. Okay, cool. Next, Wormhole, Space Elevator. Okay, this is really good, but that's almost a minute of lo-fi sound. I think... like right about there is how far I would push it for the lo-fi kind of filter, because I was almost like, I was listening to it and I'm like, I know it's going, the filter's going to open up. I know it's going to open up, but what if he just sent me like a really low quality MP3 and this is just what it sounds like? So in my opinion, I would probably drop to like get rid of the lo-fi kind of bandpass telephone sound quicker, because it's really, there's some really cool music going on, but it's kind of being overshadowed by the lo-finess. Okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to the rest of the track. Okay, that's really good. Like musically, this is really good. The kick is maybe a bit too loud or something. Like the kick to me, it's got this like subness to it that the rest of the track doesn't have. So when it hits, it feels separate from the rest of the track, if that makes sense. Like it's very subby and it's very loud, and the rest of the track is nice and bright and everything. I just think it might just be a little too loud, or even just dip like that sub range down a bit in the kick. Let's see if we can. Yeah, you can see this low frequency of the kick, and then the rest of the track, you can clearly see what is the kick, and the bass and stuff doesn't really hold a candle to it in terms of the low frequenciness. Okay, and then my next note is, you kind of have this background ride going, and it goes the whole time. And it's almost subconscious because it's not super in your face. It's quite subtle, but it adds this airiness to the whole track that just covers the whole track in this airiness. And that's not a bad thing. It sounds good. It's nice and sparkly and stuff, but I would go through this drop or this section and experiment taking it out of some places or changing the rhythm, or it just kind of, the whole section has this shimmer to it that doesn't change. And it's not that it's playing against it, but I think you might be missing an opportunity to give this track a bit more progression. Maybe it just hits every other time for the first half, and then the second half it hits the same amount of frequent, or like as frequently as it's hitting now. Or maybe you drop it out for the end of every other bar to do a little fill, and then it comes back in. Like it's a little too static. I think you could use it to create movement and create a progression in the track. That note about the kick might also be fixed if it was just mastered a little harder. Like the kick might just take care of itself. Like I just brought a limiter down. So bringing the overall dynamic range of the track down might solve the kick. I still would probably bring it down a little bit though. Okay. Let's move on to the breakdown. Oh, I hear a little slap. Oh man, that slap bass is so sick, but it's so buried. I think that the slap bass needs to really like show itself off. I don't think it was in the first part. If it was, I missed it. That was cool. I like the reverse, or the reverb automation. Yeah, see right there, we finally got a break from the shimmery ride. And it was nice. I mean, like the shimmery ride is great and it adds air to the track, but when it's there the whole time, I don't feel like we get a chance to miss it. So that's all I'm saying, is maybe drop it out a certain section so that when it comes back in, we're like, ooh, that's nice, you know, subconsciously, of course. I mean, I think the track might be a little short when you consider that, like, this intro, I don't think is the best use of the intro time. You know, like, I feel like if we cut the intro in half, we would still get the same information out of it. And when you do that, we're down to around 2 minutes. So maybe try to develop it a bit more, and maybe try rolling the reverb off a little bit. Overall, things are a little, for my taste, is a little too wet. Like I would like to have a little bit more dryness to emphasize all the little pockets and things that are happening. That slap bass definitely needs to come way up because it's sick and I can barely hear it. Yeah, musically this is dope. It's so groovy. So yeah, anyway, I'd be a little more sparing with the lo-fi effect overall. And
I think the big thing to do too with the lo-fi effect is like give the listener a light at the end of the tunnel. Let them know that like, hey, I'm doing a lo-fi thing, but it's, you know, it's not gonna last forever. And when the lo-fi goes away, it's gonna be sick. I didn't quite get that in this intro because it just kind of lo-fied the whole time. So anyway, do with that information what you will. It's a sick track though, man. I like it. Okay, moving on. WTM is it's the real deal. This looks like a girthy sausage. Let's listen. Oh, let me make sure all this is off. Yes, we're good. Okay, first of all, you are smoking the master. You need to turn things down or limit or compress or something. Like you can hear the clipping, and you can see it very clearly, this clipping happening. So very loud. I mean, there's some cool grooves in here. It's kind of reminds me a bit of Josephelstein. I would definitely check. I'd check them out, or him out, I guess, to get some inspiration. So sidechain is definitely important. You need to look into that. I don't think there's any sidechaining happening. And also, let me pull up my sub bass. I don't know what the notes are, but like I feel like there's no real bottom end to this, and maybe there's not supposed to be. When it comes into this, you can just see this I can see without listening to it that this is too loud. I would honestly just whatever DAW you're in, I would just go to all of your tracks and pull them all down like 10 dB and start there. I think it's better to start out too quiet and work your way up to well, you shouldn't work your way up to too loud, but start too quiet and don't go for that super loud master. Because if you don't know how to achieve it, you're just going to end up with a distorted sausage. So turn everything way down and look into side chaining. Those are my two main concerns right now with this track. Because like there is a cool track under here, but the distorted sausageness of it is really getting in the way because it's just like, wow, you know? So that's the problem. I mean, you have some cool musical elements and a cool vibe going, but because you have just absolutely railed the master bus and it's just like, I don't know what to do. It's just getting in the way. It also kind of reminds me of Age of Empires 3 soundtrack, which is maybe why I like it. Yeah, I mean, I think you need to go back and turn stuff down and get away from this sausageness. Don't try to be loud until you know how to be loud, I guess is like the moral of the story. Because it's hard to listen to when everything is just kind of getting distorted. Like there's cool stuff in there. It's just too loud. That's my biggest piece of advice is just go turn everything down, work on getting things sounding balanced and working on your beat creation, work on your your musical skills and stuff, and then try to figure out how to get it loud. Don't try to get it loud out of the gate. Okay, moving on. Alkali, exiliate, trance all night. Wow, I can't read or talk. Cool. So this is a really cool intro. There's not enough things changing to keep my interest. Like I love these sounds. I love the chord progression. There's some cool atmosphere, but there's not enough. What's the word I'm looking for? Wow, development. There's not enough development happening. I'd also take those lo-fi drums and maybe try to compress them a bit, because I do find that every once in a while, like, see this right here, there's a few like drum hits that are kind of like, whoa, that's loud, you know? It's not bad, it's just a little too pokey. Okay, before we get into this section, I would not bring in a very subby kick with the side chaining when nothing else is real. I feel like when this happens in tracks, I kind of like picture a drummer and everybody else is like grooving on the keys and on the guitar. They're just like vibing, and then the drummer's like rocking out, you know? It's kind of out of place because the track hasn't gotten to a place where we need that kind of power. Especially too because the kick is low passed, but you're ducking everything. So you're effectively ducking down the high end of the track, but you're not replacing it with high end of the kick. So you're just basically, all the high end of the track goes away for a fraction of a second. So, like, yeah, we want to build the drums up, but maybe just don't do, like, maybe high pass that kick, don't do as much side chaining or any side chaining, and have the kick kind of build up without it being super subby and deep and loud. Because I don't think that kick is doing a whole lot for the track anyway. I mean, it's like building up and it's getting quicker at, like the rate at which you're hitting the kick drum is getting quicker. So yes, it is a build, but like, I think there would be a more effective build because the rest of the track is so cool and vibey. Maybe have like a snare roll or something that's vibes with the rest of the intro a little bit more. Okay, let's move on. Okay, that's really cool. I want to talk about this section before we get into that section. So again, I feel like the kick drum sonically is in its own place, and the rest of the track is in a different place. Like they don't feel like they're coming from the same universe to me. Maybe if like the sub bass, maybe if the sub bass was, what note is it? I'm a musician, I promise. I don't know. Maybe if there's like a sub bass. I guess my point is, if you just listen to the sub range of this part of the song, like the kick is so loud and everything else isn't. It just feels out of place to me. Also, the snare is, you're sidechaining so aggressively to the kick. We kind of expect the snare to punch through in the same capacity, but we're really mostly hearing the tail of the snare, which is indicative of like no sidechaining on the snare, and also the snare is just not punchy enough, I think. Okay, this is conceptually, this is dope. Production wise, it's cool. Mix wise, it's lacking mid-range. Like the sub, I think the sub is just way too loud. Let me take a listen. There's also like, I don't know if the kick drum rings out too long and the sidechain comes up and you've got your fundamental of your kick drum overlapping with the sub bass. But if you listen to just the sub bass, and if you're watching on a phone, you probably won't hear this, but if you listen to just the sub range of the song, there's a lot of interference and arguing happening. So sometimes what I like to do with my tracks is I will just play the sub range and I'll adjust the kick and the bass and everything that's in the sub range. I'll make sure they're all playing nice. I think that's what you got to do with this. You got to figure out your side chain and your kick length. Because, you know, if you have a, let's pull up a kick real quick. If you have a kick, whatever. Sure. So you have a kick like this and you have a side chain. We'll just pretend this is a side chain envelope. If you have a kick like that, but your side chain goes like this, you still have all of this kind of section. Oopsies. You have all of this section of the kick drum ringing out while the side chain is wide open. So now if you have a bass note on top of that, you're gonna get some arguing in the low end. So to me, I would first just play the kick and your sub bass and get those two things working together. Make sure that the length of the kick, the length of the side chain, the way you're playing the sub bass, everything is working nice and tight, and it's working together instead of against each other. And then bring in your like top bass or your mid bass or color bass or whatever you call it these days. Bring that in. Make sure that it feels cohesive with the sub bass. My next comment would maybe be on the stereo field. It's nice and wide, but there's not a whole lot in the center. If you listen to this section, the only thing that's in the center is the kick, I think. Like we basically have kick, bass, and clap. The clap is wide, the bass is wide, the kick is not. So you're kind of missing out on an entire kind of area that you could have to work with. Now, whether you use that, maybe you layer a bass to kind of tie the width, or maybe you dial the width back a little bit. It's up to you, but you have this, if you think about this as a landscape, you have this whole center region. You've put a lot of elements on the sides, but you got the center region with not a whole lot in it that you could put some stuff in. It's a place to place things. It's a place to place things, yes. also don't know about playing different notes on the sub bass as you are playing on the main bass or the wub bass. I would maybe see what it sounds like if you just straight up duplicate the MIDI from your main bass into the sub bass and see what it sounds like. Maybe there are some moments where you want to kind of diverge and do something different for sub reasons, but overall, I can hear the sub bass kind of doing its own thing and the main bass doing its own thing. But like production wise, it's dope. I really like. It almost sounds like it needs vocals or it needs melody or something, right? Especially because we have this long intro that not a whole lot happens. It's really pretty and nice sounding. But yeah. Like the bass goes dun dun dun, like the sub bass, and your wub bass is kind of dum 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 dum. It's doing two different things, and I would just be interested to see how it sounds if they both did the same thing, and go from there. But yeah, great track. Let's move on. Where was I? Amnesia, My Dreams. Okay. Oopsie, sorry. Is this somebody snoring? Just wondering. If this is supposed to make me feel unsettled, then you have succeeded. See, I like where this is going. I feel like it took a little bit too long to get there, and I also personally don't know if I like the snoring sounds or the breathing or whatever it is. I really like where this is headed, but it took a long time to get to this part, so maybe keep that in mind. I mean, if this was like the soundtrack to a horror movie or game, then good job. I don't even really know what to tell you. It's very, very discerning. I feel very scared. I I don't really have any real suggestions. It's a cool vibe. It's terrifying. It does what it's supposed to do. It's maybe like this section was maybe a bit long for me. Once we finally got that bass, to me that was like, oh, okay, now I can get into this a little bit more, right? But yeah, the vibe was dope and scary and great, and I'm sorry that I don't have any more suggestions. It's scary. Maybe try giving us a bit more dry piano. The piano is so distant. So everything feels very distant and atmospheric. I think you may have the opportunity to use that to contrast. If you were like, okay, we have all this ambient stuff, and now here's this element that's not as ambient. It gives you something to contrast against, right? So maybe try playing around with something that's a little less atmospheric and see if you're into that. But besides that, it was a good horror soundtrack, and I am scared. Hello, Sekwa. Okay. Bust it out.
Running your mouth, you better bust it out. Running your mouth, you better bust it out.
I don't know who sent this in because they didn't put their name in the file. Oh, sorry, Canadian Tire's emailing me. Go away, email. So I don't know who sent this to me, if it was a joke or whatever, but it's cool. It needs sub bass. I feel like the sub bass is like in the wrong octave or something. I really like what the vocals are doing though. It's super cool. I think the vocals are cooler in this than in the original track. So that's great. It makes me feel great about myself. I don't know what to say. Like it's a cool start to something. It needs the sub range sorted. The drums are doing the same thing the entire time. I don't know how serious I should be taking this. I think it's cool. It rocks. I guess my biggest concern with it is just that like the drum and bass loop or whatever is just going the entire time, and it just feels a little static to me. But I don't know. I think it's dope. I'm a fan. Whoever made that, thank you. Okay, drop pop aggressor whip. Wow, those. Wait. They sound like drums from the Doom soundtrack. Okay, let's go. wow. Like, okay, it was a joke, but like, it was actually pretty dope. Like, it's pretty good. I feel like this was an actual effort that was then converted into a joke. Yeah, I mean, like, my honest thoughts is if this was a real effort, all the joke shit, whatever, some of those sounds, like the boom, whatever that is, needs to be sidechained because it's just absolutely wrecking the limiter when you play it. I mean, this is a dope track, besides it being a joke. I don't know, man. I think it's cool. I don't have any real, all my feedback would be towards the joke shit. So, like, I don't really think that's necessary to say. I think it's dope. I think you should take out the joke shit and make it a real song. All right. Ezwin, time to cry April Fool's Day. Okay, this one is obviously clearly a joke, so at least we know. Okay, so I think I made this. I think I made this and sent it to Ezwin a while ago. Or wait, was this the one that we kept adding to it? Anyway. Ha 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 ha. April Fools. All right, the actual Ezwin track. Okay, this is okay, I'm on Twitch chat. I don't know why my Twitch chat. I noticed that there wasn't any Twitch coming up. I was wondering. I don't see what the Twitch chat was, Ezwin. I'm sorry. Am I supposed to play this in a certain way? I'm on Twitch chat now. So maybe say whatever say. This is really nice. This section is obviously way too long. Restream isn't in the user in chat. Okay, that's hard to read. The sub bass is very loud in this. Oh, I got my first subscriber. So I am now a Twitch affiliate, I think. Anyway, thank you, Rayhem, for being the first subscriber. He's got a little first icon next to his name. That's cute. Okay, back to the track. Vocals? Maybe? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Eswin says the project is not sequenced. The break is just a placeholder. I wonder why my Twitch chat isn't working. Maybe. Anyway, I'll figure it out for next time. Yeah, okay. So the sub bass is too loud. Oh my god, I never realized that's the Architect's fill. That's funny. Yeah, this is really good. Like musically this is really good. I feel like I'm swimming in the bass. Like I feel like the sub bass has surrounded me in maybe not the best way. It's very wompy, if you know what I mean, like womp womp womp. So it's probably a combination of the kick and the sub. I think the kick has like a nice click to it, but it also has this big womp in the sub range. And then the sub bass is also quite loud. And it's kind of like covering everything. Wait, was that? What is that? That sounds like the Skrillex, "Oh my god" thing. Oh my god, that's what it was. That's so funny. Yeah, there's a lot of really pretty things going on here. I think vocals would be nice. I think sub range going down would be nice. And then besides that, just keep going. I don't really have any major concerns. It's like nice melodic complex drone. It's dope. Okay, where are we at? Jonah Walker. Ooh, we got a sausage on our hands. That sounds wrong. Okay, before I get into this, the reason that my Twitch chat isn't coming up on stream, I think is because when I signed up to become an affiliate, it made me do two-factor authentication, and I think I have to go into Restream and like re-authenticate through Twitch or something. So I'll fix it for next stream. I'm watching it on my phone now, so I can see what you're saying. Sorry for neglecting you for the past hour. All right, where are we? So musically, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. This is too loud. Again, it doesn't need to be bricked. We're not making a dubstep track here, right? Like
Contact at 18 miles. Takes me 255.
musically, it's very like Space Odyssey. I like it.
07 pushing 4 miles, slightly left, correct. 115 push speed now.
Okay, so again, musically, this is great. It's like uplifting. It's cosmic sounding. It's dope. I think you got to watch out when you layer a bunch of elements that all kind of have frequency ranges around each other. So like, there's a lot of this kind of like, let's play this in this spot. So there's like a lot of energy up in that 3 to 6,000 hertz range. And it's kind of exasperated. Is that a word? That's a word. By the fact that you have a lot of reverb happening too. So that reverb is continuing the sound even longer. So when you have all of these sounds piled up in the same kind of frequency range, all being reverbed out, all of the sounds and all of the reverb and in the same area just kind of adds up and becomes very loud and hard on the ears. I will say once it got to like the drum and bass section, it really, that was a good moment. I do feel like the cymbals, the are a bit harsh. Yeah, they kind of just sound like a constant over the whole track. So maybe massage it a bit, turn them down, maybe EQ some of that harshness out of it. I really liked when I went to the drum and bass part. I feel like maybe you're overestimating people's ability to make it that far because, and I'm not saying you should write music for other people. You should write it for yourself. But this was a dope moment, and we had to wait a minute. We had to wait half the track for it, and there wasn't any light at the end of the tunnel kind of situation telling me that like there's gonna be a drum and bass drop, or like even just a little aim break here or there, something to give us a little bit of hint that this is gonna happen, build some anticipation. I think that would help a lot. Like, I think that's what it is just a lack of anticipation for what's going to happen. And there is something to be said for just slapping us in the face with something unexpected. Wow, I can't talk today. But I think if we had a little bit of something hyping us up, getting us ready to go, and then you slap us in the face with it, that would probably be a bit better of a moment. The snare almost sounds like it's phasey or something. It's probably just the sample, but it's kind of like it's like a comb filtery kind of sound. Like it sounds really scooped in the mids or something. I don't know. It's not necessarily bad, but it is something that I noticed. It's a cool track. I would definitely continue it, and maybe just be careful with those high mids, all the elements adding up. Keep that in mind. Those vocals coming through, they're very prominent in that frequency range. I also feel like you might have mastered this section the same as you would like a big loud drum and bass drop, but it's not a big loud drum and bass drop. So just be careful with those pokey bits. Like maybe turn your monitors up really loud for a second and see which parts you kind of cringe at, and then use that as a scale of maybe what's a little bit too loud or too pokey. But yeah, good job. Let's move on. Okay, this is actually the last track, KDAC, Black Sun. It's a bit of a girthy sausage as well. Let's go. Okay, this is dope. It's very heavy. Man, I don't even know. I don't know enough about this genre to give any detailed feedback, I don't think. You are already dead. I don't know what he's saying there, so if you want me to know what he's saying there, I don't. Maybe that could be improved. You are already dead. You are only. You are already dead. Not sure. Can't catch it. So one thing that's interesting, I saved the frequency. You are already dead. Oh, that makes sense. This is an interesting curve. It doesn't sound bad. If you look at the frequency response, we see we have a really big dip in the low mids. I don't know if that's a problem. Like, the flat line thing is really just a guide, right? It's not gospel or whatever. So let's just see what happens if we try to achieve a flat line and see if it sounds better or worse or what. I just noticed that this is a pretty prominent dip in the I don't know, 300 hertz range. So we're just gonna boost that up a bit. stereo. Let me change this to just stereo. Oh my god, it's so loud that I have threshold at 0 dB and it's still pulling gain. So let's turn it down. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in here, turn this down. I mean, it's hard to compare back and forth because I'm not getting the volume matches quite right. I don't know. I feel like that dip could be filled in a little bit. I think there's a lot of kind of sharpness to the track that might be might be rounded off a little bit by adding in some of that 300 hertz range, and that might just help it be loud without being harsh, if that makes sense. Yeah, it could be filled in many different ways. I just know that that dip immediately stuck out to me as like, oh, that could potentially be a problem. I think a lot of it has to do with the sound design, right? Like the sound design is it's very, you've got like a loud sub bass and a very aggressive, lots of harmonics in the wub bass. I will say that even though the track, the sound design is all very exciting and cool, it might be lacking a little bit of those turnarounds. You know, at the end of every so often, you have like a little drop with the fill or like a little rip or like something different, like those cool little ear candy shots, the little ninja stabs. That could be cool, and obviously it just needs to be finished. A cool breakdown, maybe some. I mean, the melody is in there. Yeah, it's a cool track. I would maybe, I'm not gonna say fill in that low mid dip, but maybe investigate it and see what you think, and see if you can use that information to make it better. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you listen to it in the car and there's something off. Maybe that dip is what you're hearing that's off, or maybe it sounds great and the dip rocks. Keep the dip. I don't know. That's my only real feedback, is that I noticed that dip and I'm like, that's a big dip. Besides that, cool track. Okay, so apparently we got, I usually like to go for an hour and a half, so we got 15 minutes. So I'm going to go take a look on my Discord server at the ones that have been submitted since, okay, here we go. So let's download, we're going to grab a couple more that have been submitted, and then take a listen to that. So that one, let's go toy, that one. That one. We'll go for 3 for now. And if we have time, we'll do 4, 5. Yeah. You know what? Let's try to get through all 5. And I see KYE. I don't know how to say that. You submitted a SoundCloud link. Send a downloadable link so that I can load it into FL Studio. All right. Let's chuck those in FL. So I grabbed 5 more. We're going to date created. Sorry, I'm just trying to find these. All right, Sydney Airport. I wonder if this was created in the Sydney Airport. Who knows? Let's make sure ozone is set back to not having a gigantic bump at 300 hertz. So we'll delete that, and I'm gonna delete that at 0, put that to 0, and okay. insane. There's so much happening. Like that fill. Oh man. Boom, bang.
Please remain behind the yellow line at all times and allow others to alight before boarding. For your safety, please remain behind the yellow line at all times and allow others to alight before boarding.
This is very unique. And I'm not just talking about the bang, 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 blah, 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 blah. I'm like just the sound of this. It sounds like it's in my head or something. Like there's something. It's like simultaneously full of rage and also calm or like docile or something. A little cat meow. Wow, that was crazy. I don't really know what to tell you. That was insane. I like the It's so weird. Like the intro is so weird. It sounds like somebody is like this. Like whispering to themselves, but they're like sitting on a subway and they're like about to explode, but they're like they're whispering to themselves. I don't know. It's insane. The intro might be a little long for my liking. Because it's just so nuts. It's so crazy. But I had no idea that it was gonna be that crazy until a minute into the song, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is insane. Like again, I think if you're gonna have such big contrasts in your tracks, maybe have a little bit of a tease or a hint. I know that you had kind of like like you can hear like the fast hats. I don't know what BPM this is. It's very, very fast. It feels like it's getting faster, but I think it's just the sound of the track, to be honest. Yeah, maybe hint at the craziness a little bit, or give the intro is just pure atmosphere or something, and to me that's not enough to hold my attention. It's like a cool soundscape and there's cool sounds happening. 200 beats per minute, insane. There's like cool sounds happening, right? And it's atmospheric, but I don't know what to pay attention to. So maybe I'm just dumb and I need like a melody or like something to be like, hey, this is what you should pay attention to. But yeah, I find that when we have really long breakdowns or intros that are just pure atmosphere, I get bored quite easily. So maybe that's just me. Maybe it's something for you to think about. Crazy track. I thoroughly enjoyed that experience. Thank you. Okay, now your name. That's okay. Your name, your Jen remix.
Tell me that you've been on a mission to sue. You ain't saying sorry to nobody.
Okay, first thing that stuck out to me, the vocals sound very scooped in the mids. Like I find down here, very loud, up here, very loud and spicy, and then in the middle, kind of scooped out. Like that stuck out to me immediately.
Tell me that you've been on a mission to sue. You ain't saying sorry to nobody.
So I would look at how you're processing the vocals a little bit and maybe address your audio has been is this an April Fool's joke? Like seriously, I don't believe you. Although I kind of do because no, I will not believe you, Eswin. I don't believe you. I'm not even going to look into it. I want to look into it so bad, but I'm not going to look into it. So whatever. Okay. So I actually liked this build up. It was like a cheeky take on the on like the typical kind of EDM like build up. It's cool. The Okay, Eswin, yes, you're right. It's very marginally louder. I gotta go turn a knob a minuscule amount. So good ear. I hope it doesn't bother you. Anyway, so this track is cool. The drop is it sounds like it's trying to be more aggressive than it is accomplishing to me. Like it's like it's very scooped or something like the mid-range of the track is where you get a lot of that grit and that dirt and like that aggressiveness is the mids, and I feel like this track is scooped. Sorry, I doubted you. That's funny. Let's take a look at the spectrum analyzer over one of these sections. We'll just it might just be that the sub range is too loud. I can't quite put my finger on it. I feel like we have these wide scooped like super saws or something. Also, what note is that? That is a very low note to go to. B. Ooh, that's a tough one. B. So you're doing D sharp and B. I would maybe try going up the octave in the B or maybe layering the 2 octaves. B is a real tough. One time I did a Slander remix and it was in B and I was like, nah, and I shifted it up because B is extremely hard to get to come through on speakers. It's so low. C is really even hard. Like D is typically as low as you go for like bass music. Maybe that's what's bothering me is when it goes down to the B. I don't know if this is doable for you, but if you could shift the whole song up 1, 2, 3 semitones, then that would make you go 1, 2, 3. You go F sharp to D. And those are very, like if you listen to how loud that is, or you listen to like that B sound is inaudible. And I have a very good subwoofer and my room is shaking, but I can't really hear it. So you kind of shot yourself in the foot when you do a chord progression that gets you into that kind of range of notes, like B, C, C sharp. If you're going to spend much time there, it's kind of difficult because you have to make a call whether you want to go up an octave so that people can hear the sound, but then does it sound weak because it's no longer a deep sub bass. When I start working on a track, I tend to work out the chord progression or which notes I'm going to use, and then if I'm gonna spend a lot of time on a weird note, I might decide to shift it up or down a few semitones so that I don't spend as much time on those weird notes that are hard to come across on speakers. So
Is your middle name? Keep it up, you might burn up in flame. Life gets hard sometimes. They'll scream your name. They'll scream your name.
overall, I think your sub range is too loud. I would say if you are producing on headphones or on a set of monitors with no subwoofer, you having a tool like the Spectrum analyzer is helpful in those situations, because overall the mix just kind of sounds like it's tilted, as if what you're monitoring on doesn't give you much bass, so you're compensating in the mix, adding a bunch of bass. You know what I mean? So be cognizant of that, and maybe look into getting a Spectrum analyzer and learn how to use it. I have a video on my YouTube channel you could check out. But yeah, if we look at, like, let's It's not that bad, but I can just, to me, it just sounds like typically you just have too much bass. Wait, let's make sure I didn't like reduce the bass. Oh my God, I did reduce the bass. And there's still too much bass. So that's how you know. Yeah. I forgot I turned your bass down. So if we turn your bass back to the way you had it. So you can see that big hump. And this shouldn't be taken as absolute truth as to, how to mix. You shouldn't just look at that and bend your mix so that it looks right, because at the end of the day, it's what it sounds like. We're listening to it. People aren't looking at your song on a Spectrum analyzer and that's how they're consuming it. They're listening to it. But this is a pretty good indication of where your bass is. And if you don't have a decent room with a decent subwoofer or a decent set of headphones, this sort of thing can really help you gauge how loud stuff is relative, like how loud your sub range is relative to how loud your top end or mid range is. But yeah, cool track. I dig the Complextro vibes. ID Acute. Okay, so this track is very scooped, as you can see, and here we got a lot of sub and a lot of really bright like sawtooth sounds and stuff, and then not a lot of stuff in the middle to tie them together. So what's happening is cool. The track is cool, but you got to think about the whole spectrum as like a palette to try and color in a cool way. And I think that there's a lot of sub, there's a lot of high end, but there's not a lot of mids. So that's a place that needs a little bit of attention. Let's listen to it again for a second. Yeah, okay, so you have like this sustained sawtooth, like going the whole time. Then you have this crazy zippity zappity synth that's going all over the place with some glide to it and stuff. And they're not really, in my opinion, they're not really playing nice with each other. One is just constantly adding this like this top end grit to the track, and the other one is playing all kinds of different notes and going all over the place. Maybe what I would do if I were you is solo those two elements. Just listen to the sawtooth. The sawtooth that's just going like that's just kind of chugging along, and then the play those two things together, and then try to get them to not argue with each other as much, because to me they're kind of doing two different things, and that's the main concern. And then there's also the fact that sawtooth is just so bright and we don't have much mid-range, so maybe just like tipping it a bit so that the top end isn't quite as bright and crispy, and we add something. You basically got to fill this gap in with something. There has to be either another element or an EQ change to the elements that are already there. I could really hear it. You really hear it in your intro because a bunch of stuff were low passed, so we have a bunch of low end, and then you had this high passed sawtooth coming down, so we had a bunch of high end, but like there wasn't a whole lot in the middle because you had this low pass and this high pass, and the high pass was slowly coming down to meet the low pass. Anyway, let's move on. Also think that I don't know what you've done to your kick and snare, but I could tell on the drop that they're very sharp, almost like scalpel edge, like the transients are scalpely. And you can really see it here. I mean, we're talking I feel like I might have a cut on my eyeball after looking at this. It's very, very sharp. And normally we want a nice clicky sharp transient to really discern the start of a drum hit, but I think it might just be overdone, and that might be a sample thing, it might be a processing compression thing. I'm not quite sure, but I did notice it, and it did kind of kick me out a little bit. Okay, man, I'm having a hard time putting my finger on what it is that's bothering me here. Let me listen to the sub range. When it goes up to that first note, it kind of disappears. I don't know if that's like, what note is that? Let's pull up my, oops, not that. I always do that. Let's pull up the oscillator. So you're doing D. D, A, C. I think that's what it is. So it's like an octave up D. That's a tough one, because do you stay on the sub bass? Do you stay down D? Do you go D? Yeah, I don't know. It's just that that note is going up like almost like an octave too high or something. But the kick and the kick and the snare are so like they're very sharp. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is work on trying to fill out your frequency range, like this mid-range dip. That would be my highest suggestion, is try and make use of the entire frequency range in a nice balanced way. And you can see you have a lot of bass, a lot of highs, not a lot of mids. I would work on that. And I'd also play those two bass parts together and see if they will even work together. Maybe they won't work together. I'm not sure. But I'm sure if you like play if you play them just by themselves together, you'll hear like, oh, okay, like their notes are kind of just doing this. So anyway, cool track. Moving on. No input 7. Okay. This is really nice. I really like the melodic elements in this, and I like the track. When it goes to this part, so to me, I don't mind it doing that, but I'm waiting for it to like drop into something a bit more powerful. Cause this is it's like a wall of sound, and it's very bright, but it doesn't have much impact or beat or low end to it, right? It kind of I was kind of waiting for it to do that for a few bars and then and have like a thickness to it. And it's kind of funny when you drop out of this beat and go here, we have like more impact and more bass, and this is almost like the start of the breakdown. So I don't mind the acoustic drum sound, like the roomy acoustic drum sound, but I feel like this track has a lot of potential if you layered some thick electronic drums or something that gives it a bit more less organic feel, you know? Like it sounds like a Nintendo jam band, and I love that, but I'm waiting for it to go to that thick beat sub bass, like cool electronic part that I don't feel that it gets to until it breaks down. Also, the noise is interesting choice. The noise. I don't mind the arpeggio. I don't mind the noise at the start. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't know if the noise is doing anything for it, to be honest. Like I don't mind the noise leading into it, but and also looking at this shape, I'm not quite sure what the purpose of this is. Like it's building up. We're getting into, building anticipation. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And it's just kind of a slow letdown, and then it hits us, right? So I don't know. Maybe if something else came in here, and I know it kind of fades in. I don't know. It's an odd choice, I guess we'll say. Okay, this part is nice. Let's listen. Yeah, I have the same thoughts here. Like all this it's really nice. I love the melody. I love what the track is doing. I'm still just kind of waiting. Like there's kind of this big wall of sound, and it's nice, but it leads me to believe that it's going to drop into something a little cleaner or a little deeper or a little more impactful. Like maybe check out Starship Amazing or Anamanaguchi. Or, you probably already know these bands, and just have a listen to what they do, because they're I think those would be good references for this track. It's very similar in like the vibe. And I'm not saying that you sound like them or you should or shouldn't sound like them, but I think that you might get some ideas from that. And this is, again, just my opinion. If you like how it just rocks out with the acoustic drums and not a lot of sub bass, then go for it. I'm just saying that for me, if I was listening to this track and it did that wall of sound thing, built up and then dropped into like a solid sub bass like beat thing, oh man, I'd lose my mind. Oh. Like melody and stuff, you don't got to work on any of that. You've done a great job. I don't know. Think about it, experiment, and hopefully you find something interesting in there. All right, this is the last one. Singrid.
Throw your hands up if you with it.
already know what I'm gonna say. The sub range is way too loud. And it's like, it's interesting. It's so just one fundamental note. You can see over here. In fact, if I turn the precision up. Jesus fucking Christ! Like, seriously, I don't think the mix is that bad. It honestly just sounds like your sub bass is about 10 dB too loud, and it's overpowering everything. Like, let's put a very sharp dip right at, what are we talking here? D, around 42 hertz. So let's go here. We'll do, or no, let's do this. We'll find 42 hertz. And we're gonna dip it. Jesus fucking Christ! Like, it still is kind of too loud. Jesus fucking Christ! Oh, wait, you can't see that because of my head. Okay, this is me going back and forth between a massive, I don't know how many dB, like 10, I think it's 12, maybe minus 10 dB cut in the sub range. Okay, so this is your track with nothing on it. Jesus fucking Christ! And this is with a 10 dB cut. Jesus fucking Christ! I mean, honestly, if you just dip that, like, if you just take your sub bass and like really turn it down, you don't even need to EQ it. I'm only doing that because I don't have access to turn your sub bass down. This track would be a trillion times better if your sub bass was 10 dB quieter. That is a significant cut. My guess is that you are mixing on something that doesn't have a lot of bass, and this is how you have coped with that, and that's fine. But this is something you need to realize. I don't know if all your tracks are like this. This is obviously the only one I've heard that I know of. But the whole track, overall, the sub range is just like, it almost sounds like you boosted up the bass in the master or something, because maybe what you're listening to it on, it just is not doing it for you in terms of the bass. Maybe you need more bass. So yeah, I would, I don't know if you're in the Twitch chat. My phone turned off there for a sec. Hands up. Yeah. So anyway, honestly, if instant 100,000% improvement on the track if you just turn down the sub. And then you also saw I was able to limit it a whole bunch more too, right? Like, we can make it a lot louder because now we don't have this massive sub range really dictating how loud the track can be. Let's turn that way down again. Yeah. So when I go back and forth between bypassing and non-bypassing, the bass actually sounds like it stays the same, but all of a sudden the rest of the track comes up and is loud, right? Like, the bass is just at 0 dB basically, either way. But because I've turned the bass way down, now we can turn the whole thing way up. Yeah. So that's my biggest note on that one. It's a cool track. It's very heavy. I dig it. Turn the bass way the fuck down. Okay, I think that's gonna do it for today. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Again, huge shout out to my sponsor Mishimoto for sending this along after I paid full price for it on Amazon. And if you want to be included in next week's stream, hop over onto my Discord channel, discord.gg/FWLR music, FWLR music, and all of the instructions are over there. So thanks again, guys. I enjoy hanging out with you every week, and I look forward to next time.